Hi guys and girls, good afternoon. As for today's lesson, we will be looking into the theory of monopoly versus perfect competition, where I will be discussing on the characteristics, advantages, disadvantages. As usual, we will be looking into some common mistakes that students made during the exam and a couple of past year questions and a recap session before we end today's lesson. To start with, the two extreme market structure in economics are perfect competition and monopoly. Let's get into a definition of market structure. To start with, monopoly is a market structure where there's one supplier that dominates the market. For example, T and B. An interesting fact that I would like to share with you is that the word monopoly comes from the Greek language. Isn't that interesting? And monos, M-O-N-O-S, is referred as one, and polein, P-O-L-E-I-N, referred as to sell. The model of a perfect competition describes many firms competing in the market, and this refers to an intensive competition. For an example, I've got an image right there, a fresh vegetable market. So this is the difference between the monopoly and perfect competition. I hope you get a clearer understanding on the definition. Let's now move on to the characteristics. Moving on to the characteristics of this market structure, as you could see from the screen, I've listed the major characteristics of monopoly and perfect competition. To the left, you could see the characteristics of monopoly. Let's move for the first bit, a single supplier. As the name suggests, monopolist is a sole supplier of a product in a given market. And this is due to high barriers to entry, which result in a lack of substitute. And these obstacles do prevent other firms from entering the market. Monopoly markets are also known as price maker, where they're able to set the price of the product. A monopolist is able to protect its position. And one important point that I would like to highlight is that literally customers do not have perfect information in regards to the product, and the product does not have any close substitute. Let's now move on to the main characteristics in the firm for perfect competition, which are listed on the screen as well. Let's start with the first one. Firms are produced homogeneous product. So which means they sell identical products. An example that I've got in the slide is selling strawberries in a wet market. In a perfect competition, there are many buyers and sellers in the industry, none of which has any significant market power in order to influence the market supply or demand. This is completely based on equilibrium point, and firms are pretty much a price taker, and the price is determined by the market force. And generally, both buyers and sellers have got perfect knowledge in regards to the product. So which means the customer, which could either be you or me, and literally we have an access to this information about the product and the prices that are being charged by the competitors. And the last point that I would like to highlight on is, as there are there's no barriers to enter the perfect competition market. There is a complete freedom to enter and exit from the market. Let's now move into advantages of firm being monopoly. The first that I've highlighted is monopoly is able to achieve economies of scale, as it is the only supplier in the market. And the second point is that monopoly firm gain high profit, and this profit that they have made could be used for research and development, and they would be able to use in order to invest in latest technology and machinery. So in order to be very competitive, in order to be a step ahead by being a monopoly, the firms are able to have this capital in place in order to invest in technologies. Moving on to perfect competition, the firm achieves maximum economic efficiency, as there is no single firm can control the price of goods and services. The other advantage is that advertising and promotional expenses are eliminated because products are identical, or the other similar word they could use is homogeneous. Let's now move on into disadvantages of firm being a monopoly. To start with, consumers are being charged with high price, and this creates a loss in the customer's welfare in a long run. Besides that, the second disadvantage I've listed on the screen is that lack of competition, which may lead to a low quality and outdated goods and services that are being sold to the consumers. The other two disadvantages of perfect competition are no research and development undertaken as the products are identical or homogeneous. And due to the firms are being price taker, this may lead to unstable income and prices due to frequent change in equilibrium prices. To sum up what we have covered today, I've illustrated in a table form for you to have a clear understanding on how the perfect competition differs from monopoly. So be very clear on the definitions, the characteristics, the advantages and disadvantages. Let's now move into exam questions. As you could see on the screen, this is a very common question that is frequently being asked in exam. Explain two characteristics of perfect competition. And this question gives you 4 marks. And in order for you to score these points, you are required to at least list down 2 characteristics and explain each one briefly. As indicated on the screen, I've listed 4 points which you could also refer back to your past year answers from the year 2016. And what I would like to add on is the most common mistakes that students made during the exam. They were just listing out the characteristics with no explanation, and which only gives them 2 marks. So just to ensure, in order to get 4 marks, you have to explain briefly on each one point that you have chosen. Guess that is all from me today. Thank you for watching my video and feel free to provide your comments below. Have a pleasant day, guys and girls. Stay tuned for my next upcoming lesson. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks once again.